Hey everyone, and welcome back to the pod. Episode 235, and man, do we have something big to dig into today. Intel, right? Always in the news. Always doing something.
Always. And this time it's about their CEO, Lip-Bu Tan, making some significant changes. We're talking about shaking up the entire leadership structure. A real refresh, it sounds like.
He is. And not just a little shakeup. Source A is quoting him, flattening things out, getting rid of layers. Closer to the engineers, which I love. It gets me excited because that's where the magic happens, you know? That's where the real work gets done.
Right. It sounds like he wants to cut through the bureaucracy, which, frankly, Intel's been known for having a bit of, shall we say, a layered approach?
A bit? Source A has him saying, organizational complexity suffocating innovation? That's not a bit, Jenny. That's like trying to paint a mural while wearing mittens. It slows everything down.
Okay, painting with mittens is a good analogy. So he's really emphasizing this cultural shift, making it more agile, maybe? More responsive to the market? To engineers?
Precisely. Source C talks about this transformation plan. It's less about rigid hierarchies and more about getting decisions made faster. Imagine engineers, the people building the chips, having a more direct line to the top, like unfiltered.
That makes a lot of sense. Less time in meetings about who's in charge of the meeting, more time actually innovating. And a big part of that is also who's in those top spots now, right? Especially, you mentioned, the new AI chief. That feels pretty strategic.
Oh man, this is a key part. Sachin Katti is stepping up as CTO and the AI chief amidst Greg Lavender's retirement, which, that's someone who's been there a while. A significant change in itself, but Katti taking on the AI side, that's a very deliberate move.
Why is that so crucial right now? I hear AI everything, but for Intel specifically, what does this appointment signal about their direction?
It signals a clear laser focus, Jenny. Intel absolutely times needs to be at the forefront of AI development and hardware. It's not just about general-purpose chips anymore. The market is moving towards purpose-built silicon, chips designed specifically for those intense AI workloads. Whether that's in the massive data centers running cloud AI or out at the edge devices, think smart cars or industrial automation. That's where the demand is.
Okay, purpose-built silicon. So not just one-size-fits-all chips, but specialized ones for specific AI tasks. Got it. Like, using a wrench versus a screwdriver. You need the right tool for the job, essentially.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Trying to slice a pizza with a spoon. You could probably mangle it, but it's messy and difficult. Purpose-built silicon is like getting the perfect pizza cutter, designed for that specific task.
That's a great analogy. So Katti's role is to make sure Intel is building those pizza cutters for the AI world. And doing it quickly and efficiently.
Precisely. And Lip-Bu Tan's memo, Source A again, clearly states he wants direct reporting lines for those critical divisions like data center/AI and the PC chip group. That tells you where the priority is, where he wants that direct visibility and control.
Cutting out the middleman to get those key teams directly connected to the CEO. It sounds like a pretty aggressive move to push things forward. Are they expecting this to speed up their product development cycles?
The hope is absolutely that it accelerates technical execution cycles. Less layers means less time waiting for approvals, less bureaucracy bogging things down, more time designing and building. Source C highlights this as a key part of his transformation plan, empowering engineers, getting them closer to the decision makers so they can move faster.
And they've also highlighted pretty significant investment, right? According to Source D, that's an $18 billion planned capital expenditure for advanced manufacturing. That's a serious chunk of change.
Yeah, that $18 billion, that's a substantial commitment. That definitely shows they're serious about building out their foundry capabilities and enhancing their advanced manufacturing processes. It aligns with that broader global trend towards onshoring chip manufacturing, bringing production closer to home, which we've touched on before.
Definitely. It feels like a really coordinated effort. Restructuring the leadership, bringing in new leadership in key areas like AI, and then backing that up with serious investment in their infrastructure. It's all pointing towards a big push in a new direction for the company.
A big push indeed. And part of this push, which Source B mentions, cut to. And it's important to acknowledge the human element here. Cut to is also a workforce reduction. That's always a tough one to navigate.
It is. While the focus is on streamlining and efficiency, there's the impact on people. Are there any details on how they plan to manage that ethically, or how they'll keep morale up among the remaining employees when they're going through such a significant shift?
Source B mentions the workforce reduction, yes. And Source E, the vision keynote, talks about reinforcing an engineering-first ethos and partnering closely with the ecosystem. The idea, I think, is that by reinvesting in the core engineering talent and showing a clear, exciting path forward centered around innovation, they can counterbalance some of the impact of the reductions. It's about focusing on where they need to be strong and building enthusiasm around that future.
So, trying to make sure the people who are there feel valued and see the vision for the future, that they understand their importance in this new structure. It's a really delicate balance, especially, like you said, in a competitive industry like semiconductors where skilled talent is in high demand.
It absolutely is. And Lip-Bu Tan, in his vision keynote, really hammered home that customer-centric approach. It's not just about building cool tech in a vacuum. It's about building tech that directly solves customer problems and meets real-world needs. That's the driver.
Which makes perfect sense. End of the day, the success will come from selling chips that businesses and consumers actually need and want to use. So, the leadership change, the sharper AI focus, the big investment, it all circles back to that goal of meeting market demand effectively.
It does. Flattening the structure, promoting Katti to lead AI. It's designed to make them more responsive to those customer needs and, importantly, accelerate getting those specialized chips to market ahead of competitors. Speed feels key here.
Speed is definitely key in tech. And thinking about competition, Source B mentions the risks of this restructuring, things like potential confusion from the flatter structure, or the challenge of competing against established AI players like NVIDIA. How do you see them addressing those potential downsides?
Those are valid points. The risk of confusion in a flatter structure is real. If, roles and responsibilities aren't clearly defined during the transition, Intel will need to be really clear in their internal communications about who does what and where decisions are made to avoid paralysis or overlap.
That makes sense. It's not just about removing layers, but making sure the remaining connections are strong and clear.
Precisely. And on the competition front, competing with someone like NVIDIA in the AI space, especially with their GPU dominance, is a significant challenge. Intel's strategy with Sachin Katti at the helm of AI and the focus on purpose-built silicon suggests they aren't trying to be a direct clone of NVIDIA. They're trying to find their niche, focusing on different types of AI workloads, perhaps more at the edge or specific data center applications where their architecture might have advantages.
So not necessarily going head-to-head on every single front, but finding areas where they can be strong and offer something different, like, if everyone else is excelling at sprinting, maybe Intel is focusing on being the best marathon runner in a specific lane?
That's a good way to think about it. They're looking for those specific use cases and types of silicon where they can be highly competitive, and the $18 billion investment in manufacturing is part of that. Being able to produce those specialized chips efficiently and at scale is a major differentiator, part of that global move towards diverse manufacturing capabilities.
And speaking of the investment, Source B also brings up the question of returns. $18 billion is a lot to spend, and it might take a while to see that pay off, which could affect their short-term financials. How do you think they'll manage those pressures?
That's a real concern, and something investors will be watching closely. Large capital investments like that typically have a longer payback period. Intel will need to be very transparent with the market about their timeline, their milestones, and how these investments are expected to contribute to future revenue and profitability. They'll need to manage expectations and demonstrate steady progress, even if the major returns are a few years down the line.
It's a significant multi-year play, then? Not something that's going to show up as a massive profit boost on the next quarterly report.
Unlikely? No. It's a foundation-building investment, and they'll need strong execution on the product side to make sure that when the manufacturing capacity is there, they have the high-demand AI and other specialized chips ready to fill it.
It highlights just how complex these large-scale corporate transformations are. It's leadership, it's technology, it's manufacturing, it's people, and it's financial management, all at once.
Absolutely. And it's why it will be really interesting to watch how this plays out in their next earnings calls and how analysts react as these changes start to take effect, and they provide more updates on their progress with the AI chips and the manufacturing build-out.
Definitely. we'll absolutely be keeping a close eye on it. For now, it seems like Intel under Lip-Bu Tan is making a very deliberate and pretty aggressive move to reshape itself for the future, placing a significant bet on AI and aiming to get back to that core engineering focus and speed that defined them early on.
It feels like they're trying to recapture some of that early innovative spirit, but pointed squarely at the AI era. A calculated risk for sure.
A calculated risk with some substantial investment behind it. Something tells me we'll definitely be talking about Intel again soon. Alright, that wraps up our deep dive into Intel's leadership restructuring and strategic shift for today. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. It was a complex one, but important. We'll catch you on the next episode.